Welcome to the Mad Love Your Life Show. I'm Mary D, the Joy Catalyst, here to be your host and transformation guide. Mad Love is about the mad, making a difference, and love is what we serve up to live a delicious life. My intention is to help you spark new ideas, break limiting beliefs, and align with your deepest dreams and desires. Get ready for laughter, inspiration, and finding your inner roar in every show. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Mad Love Your Life show. I'm so excited to have back a very special guest. Her name is Dr. Kelly Edmonds, and Dr. Kelly is a coach, a healer, and a spiritualist who works with awakened souls who are ready to heal deeply, who are ready to activate their power and align with their spiritual mission. Through divine channeling, soul work, and transformational energy healing, she helps you remember who you are on a soul level and guides you as you embody that truth in every aspect of your life. You can find more about her at kellyedmonds.com. That's KELLYEDMONDS.com. And we're going to dive right in today. For those of you that don't know, I have had Dr. Kelly on as a guest before because she's amazing. And it's been so fun to interview her and also to just continue to watch her work in the world as she continues on in her spiritual calling. And of course, you all know that this is something that's very near and dear to me because I believe that it's part of how we live a balanced life. I believe that our spiritual connection has a lot to do with our emotional connection, which then has to do with our physical connection. We're all just intertwined in so many interesting and wonderful ways. And it's one of those topics that, we don't talk about in school unless you're actually going to magic school or spiritual school. People don't, there's not a class that we take in college that we have to check off the box that says, hey, how's your spiritual life, by the way? And for most of us, I think when we think about what's happening spiritually, many of us might have grown up in church or through, a religion that we might have been handed down from in our families or found along the way and have had our own dynamic experiences. And so I want to invite everyone to just be open to understanding that we all come from different walks of life. We all are in different places in our journey, and there is always more. There's always more. I remember that being in a place where I felt really comfortable in Christianity. And it was before I'd really traveled the world, before I really got to dive in and see other cultures and have my own life experiences. And I remember afterwards being able to reflect on that, thinking, oh, I've actually lived in a little bit of a box, a little bit of my own box. And as I started to watch and observe and participate with other people and hear their stories, I started to realize that, wow, like so many of us have this really common thread. And it's the common thread of we do seek connection. And many of us seek that connection through our community. So it's having other people to be there for us when we might be in needing support or we might be suffering. And there's other parts of it where we may look for a bigger source of hope or a bigger source of helping us solve our problems in life. And oftentimes that's where we turn to having, God. And many of us seek out God or spirituality in a different way. And we can call it whatever we want. Not every religion calls it God. But that's one of the easier things to say for anyone that's uncomfortable with God. If you're like, I'm an atheist, I'm not sure that I believe in that. Call it love. We're all looking for love, and we're looking for that ultimate source of love that can bring us comfort from a really deep soul level. And along the way, we get to have teachers and we get to have influencers and we get to have messengers who come and share their message with us and give us our own messages of hope and also give us some insight. And I believe Dr. Kelly is one of those beautiful spiritual angels on the way who really has a gift. And I want to, Dr. Kelly, before we start, I want to give everyone a little bit of context because if they didn't hear the first show, then they didn't hear the story. And I want to give them just a little bit of context, which is when I met Dr. Kelly, we were actually at a conference. And during the conference, she walks up to me and we just start, having a little chit chat. And I'm, okay, what do you do? And she tells me, she's like, oh, well, I read souls. And it was really funny because she just said it just really like she was really easy, really matter of fact. She wasn't like trying to sell me on it. She just kind of rolled off her tongue. And I was like, okay, she's cool. All right, let's dive into this. I've never had someone walk up to me who says I read souls. And so through that, Dr. Kelly and I got to have an experience where she actually read my soul. And you guys, I was just open and I was like, I'm here for the experience. Let's see what happens. And in this experience, Dr. Kelly actually had me shut off my camera. She got really quiet. She didn't tell me what she was going to do first. So I didn't have any kind of preconditioned idea about what it was going to be. And for, I don't know, maybe 30-ish minutes, things were quiet. She was doing her work on her end. She said she'd let me know when I could kind of come out of this meditation. The music was soft in the background, and I became very relaxed. And I actually had my own experience while she was doing what she was doing. And when we came out of that, I felt very refreshed and worked on. And then she explained what she did. And this is where the magic really came in. The magic came in when she started to tell me what she was doing during the quiet time when she was working on me. I, in my own experience, having my quiet time, was actually having the same experience that she was doing. So, one of the, I don't want to ruin it for anyone that wants to get a soul reading, but one of the things she mentioned is in the beginning that she raised me up. And in my experience, I felt lifted. Like I literally felt like I had lifted. And then the work that she saw was actually the work that was happening on me. It was sort of like a head to toe. I had like this energetic healer that was just going in and grabbing little medicine bottles off the shelf and just putting some stuff on my feet, and then walking over and touching my head, and then putting their hands on my throat to open up my throat chakra. And one of her insights for me was around my throat chakra being open and about making a difference, and about having a kind of like a lover in the, that was watching, that was observing. And shortly thereafter, I end up finding out that sure enough, a future lover ended up being someone who'd been in my life for a really long time. And then we reconnected. So it was really fun to just go through this reading, and there was so much more to it, but I just want to give you a little bit of context so that you know that I had this really insightful experience with her. And it's definitely one of those unforgettable and very channeled experiences that I just go, wow, she really has this amazing gift, and she's had it for a long time. So, Dr. Kelly, without further ado, that was a big introduction to everyone for you. Thank you for coming to the show. It's great to have you back again.
Oh, thank you so much. And Mary, you're really a special person to me too. I enjoyed doing that session on you. I just really respect the work that you're doing here and just putting out messages like I'm putting out messages to help people. And yeah, it's just a pleasure to be back again. It really is.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, Dr. Kelly, let's dive in because, there are folks listening, and some of them are like, I don't know if I fully believe that. Others are just like, oh my gosh, I'm totally in. We have the spectrum, and I'm not here to convince anyone, but I do encourage people to keep an open mind and want to just let them know what's out in the world, because sometimes this is new for people and sometimes it's old news to people. So, let's start with, what does it mean to answer a spiritual calling? Like, what does that mean for you?
I wanted to let everyone know, at least from my perspective, what I've been taught, what I've been guided, what I've experienced for the last 35 years is we're all spiritual beings in a human body. So it's when that spiritual being starts to wake up that you have this new sort of version of yourself, this new awareness, this new perspective comes forward. That's sort of, yeah, I mean, it's like angels playing harps, right? You just realize, holy, there's this whole other reality of harmony and love and lightness, and and there's things beyond what I'm looking at. Well, my five physical senses can take in. There's something way beyond that. And, when I had my own awakening 35 years ago, that's what happened to me. Before then, I was living this miserable life, really. I was doing what I was supposed to do. I was a good daughter. I became an accountant, which I hated, but I'm glad I have to this day because it helps me manage money and so forth. And when this awakening happened, and it was during a Reiki session where this woman just opened me, now I understand it. Then I didn't. I just visualized this butterfly coming out of me, and there's this like, just this lightness, and it's like the blinds go up, and it's like you just this feeling of euphoric feeling that lasts. Like it's just not gone that afternoon. Then the trip came, the journey came. How do I marry my real life with this spiritual part of me? Right. So it was at that point in time I really realized I was a spiritual being in a human body. And a lot of my gifts I was born with. My father is from Belfast, Ireland, so I have a really strong Celtic bloodline that also, where my grandmother and aunts could read, they were psychic, people would listen to their dreams in the morning because that event was going to happen. So I sort of grew up around it, but I never really used it. And it was that journey of really trying to figure out how to marry the two. And so, I mean, I think people struggle with that too. Even if they do awaken, it's like, well, now what? Like, all of a sudden, there's some misalignment in their life. Like, oh, this, and I don't know what to do with this spiritual new reality awareness, like consciousness. Like, what do I do with it? How do I expand? What am I supposed to do here? And it can be really quite confusing. And I'm sure there's so much of it going on. I'm sure those that have maybe felt they haven't awakened are getting really annoyed at that phrase, right? It's like everyone seems to be awakened except me, right?
Yeah.
But all I can say is just trust and be patient. And if you're seeking it, you're going to have your own spiritual path that's going to look completely different from mine and from yours, Mary. And being
Yes.
impatient with it is a sure killer. Believe me, I know. I've pushed and I
Yes.
tried and I wanted and I asked and I demanded, and it just doesn't work that way. That's what you do in the human life, and that's the ego coming in, right? But if you sort of sit back and go, okay, well, this is going to unfold the way it unfolds a lot faster. And you
Yeah.
start to have aha moments, and you start to have insights, and you start to change the feeling inside of you, and you start to see things differently, and you want to see things differently because maybe your life is mundane. And so I just wanted to start with that to acknowledge I'm starting to see, because this is now my lens, starting to see how people are in terms of where they are around this whole awakening thing. Just to end, a lot of awakening is happening now because it is part of the divine plan. They're meant to raise the consciousness. They're meant to flow the energy a lot faster around us. They're meant to have divine higher realities come and connect with us. It's this is part of the divine plan of everybody becoming more conscious. Why? To make this a better world, to make us all
Absolutely.
better people, to evolve and enlighten ourselves even more. Not to become these gurus in robes to live in a cave, not at all. But imagine if you all of a sudden had this amazing abilities and insights and energy and vitality and different connections of guidance and spiritual stuff around you, that really shifts your life. And it actually is more happy than it is frustrating. And so that actually really is a great goal to even just start opening that door.
Yes, yes, and yes. I've definitely found that along my journey, one of the ways that I've been able to tap in is in taking the gifts I have and continuing to practice with them, and obviously to tap into my intuition, because that has been the best gift, and I feel like we all have it. Not all of us have learned to trust it. Not all of us have been taught to trust it. Some of us have been actually told to not trust it. And so I think that there's so much with just that alone of the mental gymnastics that we can do with ourselves around, when do I listen to myself? When do I not? Are my feelings deceiving? Or am I in my gut? Like, are these real feelings? Am I in my trauma? Or am I in my direction I should be going? And so these are all the things that I think show up for people. There's some of the things that show up for people. And then other people are very logical. So they want this very logical explanation around things. And because we may be in work that puts us in a lot of logic, it's easy to kind of stay in that brain. And this is where I believe that tools like prayer and meditation can be really insightful for people, because they allow us to get still. They allow us to get out the noise and also roll through all the thoughts that we're having. And I think that's the misnomer people think in meditations, is they think, oh, you don't have any thoughts. Not necessarily. Sometimes you have the thoughts, and it's just a matter of also being like, hello, thought, I'm acknowledging you. I'm just not going to continue down this road with you.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting thing of when people can get quiet with themselves, and when they can stop saying, where did I get fed this information? Right. And told what I was supposed to do or wasn't supposed to do. And now, if I sit with myself, can I really lean in and feel what it is? And I'll give you guys a real world example. A real world example is your parents tell you to go to college to become a doctor. So you go to college and you become a doctor. You don't want to be a doctor. You want to be a rock star. And they're like, don't go be a rock star. You're not going to make any money. Go be a doctor. That's a real job in the world. And you're going to go learn these things. You're going to help people, blah, blah, blah. So you go, okay, my parents know better than me. In my heart, I want to be a rock star. I have a message to share with the world. I have a talent to share with the world. And I feel so good in my body when I get to be a rock star. But I'm going to go do this more practical thing that my parents said is the thing to do, and even though it doesn't fuel my soul. So you go off and you stop being a rock star because it takes so much time to become a doctor. You become a doctor and you lose sight of being a rock star, or you might still do some rock star stuff, but your soul is still saying to you, we really miss you being a full rock star. You really have this great message, and your time is over here being a doctor. We don't get time to work with you on a level that we want to, while you get to be in your creativity and channeling your gift over here in being a rock star. So it's interesting to see like people do that, and then they go on through life, and at some point they get either disenfranchised or they get sick, or maybe this in this scenario that I'm giving you, the doctor has something major happen and he's like, this is not for me anymore. I can't handle this. I don't want to do this anymore. It's too much pressure. It's too high stress. It was someone else's dream. And then they go, but what would fuel my soul? And that's when people tend to come back to themselves somewhere along the hero's journey. And so this is where I see people going, okay, let me tap back into that rock star, that gift, that thing that my soul's been longing to do. And too many people wait to do it. And I think that's the other piece of it, is people often wait, or they put their gift on the back burner, or the whatever their soul's longing for, they put it on the back burner. And that's also why we see people go, it's why we all talk about, in middle age, what's the middle age syndrome, Dr. Kelly? I know you know what it is. Midlife crisis.
Midlife crisis. It's like, oh my God, this is it? Like,
Yes.
I'm sad. I'm depressed. I'm so unsatisfied. Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That was my life. You just described it, right? You just described it. And I pursued a doctorate in education because I didn't want to be a bag lady. That's why. Because I started to notice, I'm almost 65. I started to notice, I grew up in a very sexist era.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to notice that women were either mothers, nurses, teachers, or secretaries. And none of that really appealed to me. And and just men were more entitled. Men got more, and men seemed to flourish financially. And men have been used to working with money for so long. Women haven't. You plunk $1 million into a woman's life who's never had money before, and it's a bit of a show. It's like it's panic, and what do I do? Like it takes her through these levels of anxiety, guilt, shame. It's crazy, right? And then how to efficiently manage money is the whole other thing. You can lose $1 million pretty quick. So I just decided, at some point in time, like, I'm going to rise above this. I'm going to secure my position in the world. That's what I thought was going to have to happen, right? And so I just went on and I pursued more and more and more education. And sure, yeah, it did. It got me a great career. I'm both an accountant and an educator, and I had a really great career, but empty inside as well. So I retired 5 years ago, and came back almost full time to the whole healing thing. The calling was strong, and I've just been building up my presence and helping with that the last 3 years. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's so beautiful. Yeah, and I think that this is also what I'll say. It's never too late and it's never the wrong timing, right? Like you needed to have your life that brought you to the place that it brought you to then dive in and go, oh, actually, yeah, this is how I want to spend the rest of my time. And I had something similar happen, except I was knee deep in work. And like you said, it's been a man's world for a long time. But to be fair, like that's how things were set up. That's how
Yeah.
things were structured. Women for a long time didn't work. They just ran the household. And then suddenly people started getting divorces and we had a war and women needed to work and we needed extra hands. So women started to enter the marketplace. And then now you have this whole shift that's happening where women do have their own careers and we can make our own money and we can play on the same field. So it's been an interesting transition just to see across the board how things have shifted and changed. And I believe to each their own, like whatever fuels your soul, go get it. And it's funny because even now, like being single, as I date men who have kids, people are like, oh my gosh, Mary, you've never had your own children. Like, how do you feel about that? And I was like, I actually still have lots of energy. And I feel like I'm in such a different phase of life. And I've always had children in my life. I'm not opposed to kids being around and being part of my world. Like I'm actually really open to it. I said, but I also know that I'm not like having to birth any children. I said, so that hasn't changed. And I'm okay with that too. Like, so I think it's just finding our way, and part of what brings us to where we are right now is our stories, and it's also the path that we had to walk, and all those paths are so different. I think it's easy to look back, and I don't know if you do this. Sometimes I'll see someone very young who is in their gift. They are fully in their spiritual gifts, like they got nurtured and they just were like, no, this is 100% the path for me, and they did it from the get-go. And I just go, wow, like they had no time for the noise of money, career, a car, the flashy car, any of that stuff. They were like, no, like that's not my
Simple.
priority. Yes, they were so centered and clear on why they're supposed to be here and what they're supposed to be doing, and they were so tapped in. And I think that's all that happens is so many of us repress tapping in. We think, well, we'll go to some service on Sunday, or we'll go to a Bible study once a month and that'll fuel our soul, or we'll read a few scriptures. We'll go to the spiritual center, and we'll sit through a couple guru sessions. Like there's so many things that we get into a trap of practicing that we forget to like really tap in and say, but what is my spirit telling me? And sometimes the way that I think it can be overcomplicated is people are like, Mary, God hasn't come and given me the burning bush. There's no burning bush in my house that's telling me like this is my thing to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not it at all. Sometimes it's the small things. It's the, hey, go
Mhm.
check on your neighbor right now, because you haven't seen them in a few days, and you know that they, might be struggling with something, or you might know that they're older, or who knows what it is. It can be something so small and so subtle, and it's just learning to not ignore those small cues and those small chimes that our spirit gives us, because those allow us to listen. And that's how we learn to listen. And then we learn to do, and then we see what happens and we go, oh, there was more. This is serendipitous, or this is what a coincidence, we might say. And then as we do it more, we go, oh, this isn't a coincidence. Like this is a thing. Like this is happening. And I think that's really important. What would you say are one of the ways that you might have felt stilted growing up, or like you weren't supposed to be, like you knew in your heart like you wanted to do this thing, you felt your spirit tell you, but someone said, or you saw someone else do, or there was a block? Can you talk to a little bit about that? Because I think that's what more people could probably recognize.
That is a really good question because I think when I was a little girl, like up to about age 7 before school started, and I was pretty mystical. I was picking up certain stones and saying they're magical and giving it to other kids. I could see things, I could hear things, but that all stopped pretty soon because it wasn't encouraged in our house, right? And we lived a pretty strict life. I liken it sort of to a nunnery, and it gave us the foundation of a really great life and how to be good citizens and how to earn money and how to have people with value and standards and manners. Like it's given me all of that, and it wasn't really until I was about 30 and I took a year off because I just got tired of working in that career. It was just all mental and nothing else. So there must have been a calling coming through because I thought I'll just go to college and I'm going to take some of the liberal arts topics like sociology and psychology and philosophy but at the same time, if that year was like 1988, I think, or 1989, and New Age came out. The whole New Age movement came out, and everybody, it was like the rebirth of the 60s. However, where I was on the west coast of Canada was all these sort of very specific religions and traditions came forward, like Buddhism and the local native spirituality and crystals and tarot card. And so that year was just like this spiritual kindergarten. And I tried everything. And that's how I fell in love with
Mm.
Reiki. And it just really talked to me. And I became part of that. But after a year, like you're saying, after a year, the calling came, even though I did that for a living. I did energy healings and I read tarot cards. I had to get back to work. I had to get back to work to make more of a serious income. And I sort of lost it for a while, and then it started starting to come back as well. But I wanted to address something too for people that there is a misconception out there, and this is something I'm writing in my new book coming up called the Embodied Mystic. And one of the misconceptions is, and this is what I had as well, is like, okay, if I go spiritual, do I throw everything away? Like, will I stop being in my job? Will I leave my relationship? Will I hate my parents? Like, well, no, it doesn't happen like that at all. In fact, be assured that it becomes a private movement for a while. You start to feel things like you're talking about, Mary. Things start to shift. You start to notice things. Little sparks are starting to come into your life as you get into journaling and meditation and prayer and go to retreats are the best ones to be a full immersion for 3-4 days. Whatever calls you, just keep feeding that beautiful little spirit self of yours. And what happens in the end is some things were misaligned in my life, but other things I fell more in love with. Right. So it's not like you have to throw the baby out with the bathwater at all. And I think a lot of people, I thought that. I thought,
Mm.
maybe because I wanted to change so much in my life, but it's not like that at all. In fact, it's just this new maturity and awareness that starts to happen. This new, more lovely feeling starts to run through your body. Your heart starts to speak in a different way. And you start doing new things that really satisfy you. And you stop doing old things that don't do anything for you anymore. And I think it's a beautiful shift and it's a journey.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. I can think of many friends that I have in my own circle who have very, they work in the oil industry or they work, they're a school teacher at a regular public school. And yet they are very tapped in, like they're very tapped into their intuition. And I think part of their calling is to be that light in the work that they're doing because working with children that's tough work. And these are future adults and future leaders and so having that teacher in that place where she's not just off doing only spiritual things or only locking away in the jungle doing her own work, like having her in the world, that is the work. And I've had to have that own come to Jesus with myself, right? Around what is my work? Is my work only supposed to be out doing energy healings and clearings and praying over people and blessing people. It's like, no, that's part of what I do in the work I do in the world. The work I do is healing businesses. I'm really good at that. It's really natural. It's really easy. I don't know that that stops because it doesn't. But what it does do is it opens other doors where now I get to have another conversation with the CEOs that I work with around, hey, like, what's actually happening inside? What's actually happening at home? Because some of these things are affecting work. And let's talk about how those things come together. Let's talk about your nervous system and where all this comes from. Let's tap in, and let's talk about what are your thoughts on God? Like these are the beautiful things that I think um, allow us to open up conversations that we might actually not have, and also to find our people. This last weekend, I was able to go to a housewarming party for a friend of ours. And it was funny because part of, we were like, hey, can we, do a clearing on your house? We want to go in there and just sage and Palo Santo and speak a blessing over you in this next chapter. And he loved it. He was all about it and a little hesitant because he knew that this isn't something that his other friends that would be there might necessarily be tapped into. Like it wasn't any place they ventured because everyone is over there having their own kind of quiet spiritual experience. Like you said, it's just it works its way in. It's not necessarily loud and proud and out in front. It's not at the front of the line all the time where people can easily see it or conceive it or perceive that that's your vibe. And so as we did it, what I loved was watching the whole group open up and to see how on board people were and to just see how people were like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing. I love this." And because it was not their norm. It wasn't just the spiritual community where we do drum circles every weekend. Like if that's your norm, then this is nothing for you. But if it's something aren't normally exposed to, or if you don't have people speaking this level of like love into your life often, or if we don't take the time to do it, then it becomes a very magical experience for people. And I just found I'm like, this is the work. This is the work in the world. And I know for myself, I have definitely come upon realizing that more than not, as much as I do love being with my folks who are super conscious and in different spiritual communities, because it's so fun and nourishing for me, my work is in the world with everyone else who's on their journey and on their path to be a little bit of sparkle and magic for them as they go along. And I'm like, I'm here to encourage you. And I've realized that that's such a piece of my gift in this kind of circle of life. And I've come to realize that I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to be Moses who goes up on the mountain and grabs the 10 commandments and comes down and tells everyone about it. Like that's not my job. Mine is in the smaller, more intimate kind of settings with people individually. And then through the work, of course, that I get to do on the podcast and sharing with groups when I speak and things like that. So it's been a really fun journey to watch it and also continue to go, wow, it's going to continue to unfold and it's going to continue to open. And that part is exciting too. And so it's just letting people know, like, start where you're at and just know that there's there, all of this is here to serve you. And there's all these experiences that you're getting so that you can lean in a little bit more and so that you can learn to tap in and that you can learn that you're not alone in this and that there's people along the way that you're going to bless no matter what, whether you fumble through it a little bit or whether you come rip roaring out into the front big and bold. Like there's always a space and a case for being able to bring some magic into the world. So with
Awesome.
yes, and so Dr. Kelly, I do want to talk about your, you've got some really great, you have a sacred healing journey program. It includes deep cleanse, illumination, and starlight activation. Let's talk a moment and talk about that work because you also have a event coming up here, which is your energy magic program starting in October. So let's talk about the actual like things that are available to people, and let's talk a little bit about those so that anyone listening who wants to tap in can know like, hey, that like they can recognize that this is for them and raise their hand.
Yeah, thank you. The sacred healing journey is a healing session that's really unique and is about 90 minutes. And I do a deep cleanse on the energy. We're all energy, and we can carry other people's energy. We can have blocked energy that produces negative feelings or not allowing one to evolve a little bit more like they want to. We can have energy cords stuck in us. We can have past life stuff still in our body. So there's this great big vibrating multi-layer field of energy that really does need to be cleared out and enlightened and illuminated. So I most certainly spend a lot of time on that. And while I'm doing it, I pick up these sacred messages. I learn why they're there. I learn what is there. And I share all this with my clients. And then I also am very conscientious of writing down all of the messages that I get about that person, the challenges that they're facing right now, and perhaps how to overcome them. And this is all channeled into me. I'm not making this up, right? And then their soul path, like I speak to their soul, and I connect their soul more with the body, the human person as well. So yeah, there's a session, and there's also there's multi session sort of programs. That's the whole journey. Right now there's 4, and we just keep customizing and customizing and working on what it is that they need to remove. And there's like exercises they can do, and there's prompts and journaling that they do as well. That after about a month, they start to morph into a more lighter version of who they are, a much more expanded consciousness, and so I help with the teachings and all of that as well. So that's very one-on-one. And then because I've been called as well to teach others how to stand on their own feet, how to be, their own initiates in their spiritual development, how to do some of these things themselves. And that's the Energy Magic program. So there's 3 areas that I work on, and this is going to be more defined in my book coming out, The Embodied Mystic. And so it's both a practical and spiritual guide on how to partner with your soul, how to heighten your divine awareness, how to work with higher beings, how to understand that whole, multi-realm layer. Another one is, now let's start working with the human body. Let's start really getting to know what this amazing vehicle is that we're in. A big part of it is our DNA, which is our ancestral bloodline. And where's the power in that? What can we bring forward and really ground to Mother Earth and get really earthy, right? And the last one is energy mastery. So how do I work with my energy? How do I do my own clearing and cleansing? How do I do my own illumination? So I teach people this so that they become independent, so they can start working. And I believe all 3 areas are necessary, because most people work in 1 or 2 of those areas. So divine awareness, bloodline power, like your body embodiment, and also energy mastery. You need all 3 because we're spiritual beings in a human body. And it took me a while to figure that one out, where then instead of being, okay, I just want to be spiritual, I'm done with the earthly stuff, tired of my life, I don't like my body, whatever. It's like, oh, no. This is this amazing vehicle that you haven't really figured out yet and tapped into. You just bring all these together. And the energy mastery is more about, we're all energy. You and I right now are this dense form of energy. And
Yes.
there's higher and higher levels of energy out in the universe. Is how do I work with all this? How do I understand it? How do I keep mine in pristine shape and to help me along my evolutionary path?
Yes, yes, and yes. And for those of you who are like, wait a minute, what? No, some of this is not making sense to me. I'm going to break it down for you in a little bit of a lighter language, which is to remind you that if you are constantly walking around feeling drained, then that's probably a first sort of like knock knock. That's your first little red flag. If your energy feels drained constantly, and you always feel like there's a little like drain on you, then there could be some clearing there for you that you didn't even realize that you need, or you need, you just don't know how to get it. You might be trying to physically refuel it with coffee or sugar. You might be working out like a banshee, thinking, okay, that'll be it. I'll be in top shape, and that's going to change the energy. That'll shift the energy for me. but that's not always the case. And so this is where Dr. Kelly's offering you some really great tools to come and learn for yourself how you can tap into your own energy source and understand when you're possibly taking on someone else's energy, or when you're carrying energy from your own lineage, right? You all think of, for those of you who are a little more on the science side, think of epigenetics, think of how, generations of people, like your generation, probably in your family, you probably look like your dad or your grandfather, who probably looks like his dad or his grandfather. And you all probably have some similar mannerisms. You'll see it in family lines where, unfortunately, things like alcoholism, you'll see if one parent is an alcoholic, oftentimes they pass it down, and then the next person is an alcoholic. It's not like, you know, obviously there's some learned behavior there by watching it, but also there is something that attaches spiritually, and sometimes within your own DNA, on how we capture our past and how things are passed down energetically. And so it's really being able to understand, like, what are those things. And at the end of the day, if you don't have your full, sovereign energy, then why not? And this is an opportunity to really get to know, to understand, to have a better understanding, and tap into, again, your intuition and your own gifts, to be able to clear some of that, and definitely above and beyond that. But I'm just giving some people some starter things here of Dr. Kelly that I know that they will be able to recognize. Also, for those of you who walk into a room and immediately feel the room, that's another sign. Like, that's a really great sign that, like, you have a gift and you're also taking on some energy that's showing up. And how do you release that? And to give you guys just a quick fix and an example on what I do, I'm definitely a person who walks into a room, gets lots of information. And as I start to feel how other people are feeling, one of the things that I want to be great at is, I'm energized when I'm in a room full of people, but as soon as everyone leaves, their energy leaves, and sometimes mine leaves with it. And so I have to go clear, and I have to go take care of myself. And I do that often by grounding. So I go out into the grass, bare feet, or the sand, take a walk on the beach, getting my feet on the earth, getting quiet with myself again, and then giving myself, I do the little clearing ritual for myself around that. And that's really helpful, and it gets me to recharge, and it helps me empty out anyone else's energy that I might have been carrying, and it helps me get back to my grounded, centered self, so that I'm clear and I can go back and carry on with my day or my evening and whatever I'm doing, and not feel like I'm carrying other people's stuff. So really important. If you have kids, it's very likely you might be carrying some of your stuff from your kids, and life, because life can get heavy sometimes. And so it's finding these gifts and ways to be able to bring ourselves back to center, and tap into, just tap into our spirit, and to take care of our body. I don't know about you, Dr. Kelly, but one of the biggest gifts that I have found around just having awareness around, intuition, and being what I feel like is tapped into my spirit, is the care that I want to take care of my body in such a bigger way than I used to. And I think that many of us go through the phase where we, like, either dislike our body, or we're raging against our body, or sometimes we feel like our body is raging against us. But I got to this point where I remember feeling this deep sense of love for the fact that I'm like, wow, like, this is the only body I get in this lifetime. And knowing that, can I take great care of it? And can I feel into it? Like, my body tells me when something is off. And even going through my own journey with having breast cancer and getting sick, like, that was really clear to me around just being even more tapped into my body. And now that I'm on this side of it, I'm like, how can I just take better care of you? How can I love on you? How can I nourish you in beautiful ways, that versus abusing it? Because I feel like I spent years abusing my body and also judging it in so many ways. Whereas now I'm in such a different season of life where I'm like, oh no, I just love being in this skin so much. And I love that my organs function so well. And I love that, my body wants to be good to me, and it wants to move, and it wants to just, take me from here to there. It's one of the smallest things that it breathes by itself, that I get to wake up every day and like, this is the skin I'm in. So I just realized that that's been definitely one of the big ones on my own journey of just like learning to understand, like, yeah, like this is my spaceship while I'm here, and I want to take really good care of it.
Absolutely. And I'm right with you. And on top of that, I have this extra responsibility that I chose to take on to be this channel of energy that goes through me to my clients, this channel of information. So, being lighter and clearer, and I do energy clearings on myself every day. I tap into my spiritual team and talk, get guidance from them and new understandings. Yeah, that's for sure. And what I believe is our bodies are have a certain intelligence to them. So this is what I talk about when I try to teach how to strengthen intuition. Is when you're asking a question, putting it out there. Don't go to your mind, go to your heart and your stomach, go to your heart and your gut, because that's when you get that feeling if something's right or wrong, or you receive a message that's very simple through those parts of your body, because your body will tell you if something's wrong, right? Your body will tell you if
Yes.
something feels really good, right? Shut this thing off up here until you learn how to control it a little bit more. Our minds are amazing. We do need them in our spiritual development. But when people are starting to begin in this whole thing and like, how do I listen? How do I get this type of wisdom? Go with the heart or the stomach, whatever feels best for you, and how you sense what is right or wrong. If you ask yourself a question, should I do this or should I move in that direction? Sit still and just see what's happening in this area as well. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And yes. Love that. All right. Well, you all, that is our time today with Dr. Kelly. I want to just remind you again that if you want to get in touch with her, check out the show notes, pop down into the comment section, and you're going to see a way to get all of the goods. If you want more, we are at the Mad Love Your Life show on YouTube, and of course, the Mad Love Your Life show on anywhere you listen to podcasts, on Spotify, Apple, etc. We do love it when you like and subscribe to get more information on the Mad Love that's available for you. And you can also pop over to my site, which is maryd.com. Until next time, may abundance always walk beside you. May joy always go before you. And may love always guide you. Thank you for tuning in to today's show. We air live every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Bold Brave TV. We hope to see you back next week. For more ways to connect with my guests, content, programs, and retreats, just head over to www.maryd.com and subscribe. That's MARYDEE.com.